Hey, cello and bass players, we're going to talk about the bow and how to hold this thing, but before we do that, how to prepare it a little bit. So when you took it out of the case, you slid it out of the pocket there, you should have hopefully found that it was loose, okay? And if you take a close look, you can see that the hair and the stick are pretty close to each other. That's a sign of a loosened bow. You might even find that some of the bow hairs there are actually like wiggly, a little loose. That's okay if they are, that's totally fine. We want to loosen it every time we put it away so that it doesn't get stretched out over time and then you have to get new bow hair on there. We've got some parts of the bow here that are pretty easy to tell. The tip is here. This, of course, is we call the stick. Down at this end is the frog, and we've got a screw there as well. Some other parts there, and then the bow hair that is actually made out of horsehair. We want to try not to touch that hair with our hands. You might bump it occasionally, that's totally fine, but otherwise the oils from our skin get on there and that just starts to discolor it. It means you end up having to replace your bow hair sooner. All right? The first thing you need to do when you get this out is to go ahead and tighten up that screw so that we get some more space between our bow hair and our stick. So I'm right-handed, so I like to hold it with my left hand down here by the frog so I can screw with my right hand. I just always try to think righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Just like if you put the top on, say, a pop bottle, that's the direction I want to go right now, righty-tighty. And as I do that, you should see, if you look closely, that the space between the hair and the stick starts to get a little bit bigger. We want to keep going until we get to a spot where it's about a pinky apart from each other. Like I could kind of slide my pinky in there. It's about that width. And with some practice, you kind of learn what that looks like, okay? You'll notice that at this point, the stick is still smiling a little bit. If I go too far, that bow will actually get to where it's straight, and even eventually we'll get to where it's frowning. Those are big signs that, oh, I've gone too far, I don't want to tighten that far, all right? So that looks pretty good right there. Now, one thing that we need to use on this bow hair is called rosin. You had in your case, hopefully, a little block of rosin, probably looks something like this. Sometimes they come a little bit different shapes, that's okay. This is actually tree sap that we put on the bow hair to make it sticky so it grabs the strings, okay? So we simply put it on there and slide it all the way down, and you can go back the other direction. Now, at first, it can be a trick to kind of figure out how much, how often you need to do this. Your bow may be a brand new one that has never had any rosin on it, so then you may need to do this quite a few times, like maybe 9, 10 times the first time just to get enough on there. It may be that your bow has been used before and already has some rosin on it and you don't need to do it as much. It's just something that with some experience as you play, you'll learn what it feels like and learn to be able to tell when you need to put new rosin on. Don't need to do it every day. It's something that you do, maybe once or twice a week or as you feel that it needs it. Okay, so we've got some rosin on there. Now let's talk about how we're going to hold this bow. I want you to hold it in your left hand. This is my instrument hand. Just grab by the stick somewhere around the middle, all right? So that frees up my right hand then, that it's completely empty right now. So now I can take that right hand and I can place it on the bow the right way. Shake your hand out, make sure it's nice and relaxed. The first point of contact is going to be my thumb. If I take my middle finger and just touch the tip of my thumb, that spot right there, that's the part of my thumb that's going to touch the bow. And I'm going to put it on there so it is right in this little spot between the bow grip, that's this rubbery or silvery part, and the edge of the frog bump I call it. It's going to touch right there, just kind of on the bottom, but also still on the side facing toward me. I don't want to put my finger, my thumb in this little nook. I know it looks like a good place, but that's not for your thumb. So it's going to rest right there. We'll keep it there. We'll turn back around so that you can see the front side now. Now, my other 4 fingers are really pretty much just kind of flop over top, like this. Still keep my thumb in the same place, let the fingers flop over top. When you do that, you should find that your pinky finger is just kind of there close to that white dot. For me, my middle finger is usually touching right around the silver part where the bow hair goes in. That's called the ferrule. So it's resting there. And my pointer finger, this is one that a lot of people like to set on top. It needs to make sure that it's curved over and it's wrapped around that stick, all right? This should be a pretty relaxed feeling. I don't want this to be tense or squeezing it out, nice and relaxed, just like that. And now you have a bow hand.